All right, guys. So, welcome back as I continue this saga about the pitfalls and about the overall process of the divorce I went through and how the whole thing played out. This channel primarily, I'm going to say a lot of things that are going to be geared towards advising men on some of the pitfalls of this process. But I'm sure some of this information is applicable to women as well. So I mean no harm if I keep addressing men. Okay, so just to quick recap, I filed for divorce around, let's say, February or March, and I'm still living in the home at that time, but it's, the most uncomfortable thing imaginable, but my children are there, so I make sure that I'm still living in the home. She's making my life miserable, false domestic violence charges, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, she ends up locking me out the home. At this point, since I had already filed for divorce, I already had an attorney. She had already received and had been served by that time, but she didn't have an attorney, so she was just sort of acting freely, willy-nilly, based on her emotions of the day. She just did whatever she wanted to do. So she locked me out of the home. So immediately I contacted my attorney, like, what do I do in this situation? So long story short, and I'm sure I'm going to go back to certain things, but to keep this sort of brief as I continue this narrative, long story short, we had to file a motion. So, I want you guys to pay attention when I explain a lot of these things, because I've been through every step of the process. Please believe me. We filed a motion, basically, with the primary grounds explaining that I was the plaintiff. I'm the one that filed for divorce. The wife is very angry and irrational. She locked me out the home. I need access to the home immediately. Okay, so we're in New Jersey. New Jersey is sometimes notoriously slow, to put it easily, but nonetheless, that motion was not heard before a judge until maybe 3 or 4 months later. So you gotta imagine, I'm a committed father who's been around my children since they were born every day. I filed for divorce, get kicked out, and then for about a 3 or 4 month span, I'm at the whim of the crazy ex on when she will allow me to enter my own home and when she will allow me to see the children while I'm waiting for this motion to be heard. Now, in hindsight, it's very easy. In hindsight, people say, oh, it's my home. I could have just broken the windows and jumped right in. I could have kicked down the door if I wanted to. But you got to be very careful when you're dealing with someone that's irrational in those situations, because you never want to get caught with a false domestic violence charge that will severely cripple your chances of being a father ever again. So luckily I had family that lived close by, about 10 minutes away. So while this is going on, I'm crashing at family's house, and the crazy ex is, taunting me, calling me. Every once in a while she'll let me speak to the children over the phone. Every once in a while she'll say I can come over and I'll come into the house and things of that nature. But I have to be very careful, because I never at any point know that she's going to, falsely file domestic violence charges against me. Okay, so long story short, so I filed the motion. The motion isn't heard until 3-4 months later. This is the crazy stuff that happens. Okay, so normally when you file a motion, you show up in court to plead your case, so to speak. You have a plaintiff and a defendant, etc. It's called a pre-judgment motion because the divorce is already in play, so it's pre-judgment. It's a motion before the judgment of final divorce. But anyway, normally these are in person. We go to the court, and I'm like, where is my ex? I don't see her. We wait and look through the dockets, they're called, to see when my name is going to be called. I don't see my name. So I'm asking my attorney, like, what's up? When are they going to call us so we can get this thing settled? And he's looking flabbergasted and kind of slow, like, I'm not really sure. So he approaches the judge, like, are you going to call so-and-so? My name, I'm blocking out. And then the judge's like, well, we don't even see him on the record, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. So this was one of the first times that I realized that my attorney was dropping the ball on me. I always managed my attorney and made sure that I was on top of it, but a simple thing like having a mix-up of when the day was to show up for the motion, that's ridiculous. So we showed up for the wrong day of the motion. So we ended up getting the motion rescheduled, but this time now the motion is going to be heard over the phone, not in person. I didn't even know they could do such a thing. So now you got to imagine the scene. I'm sitting in my bedroom on my cell phone, dialing into the judge's chambers. So is my attorney, and so is my ex. At this point, she had retained an attorney. Somewhere in the midst of there, she retained an attorney. So it's myself, my attorney, my ex, and her attorney on the phone. And there's so much static. There's call dropouts. Everything imaginable that you can imagine can go wrong went wrong on that phone call. So we explained our case to the judge that, you know, it's just ridiculous that I'm locked out of the home. I need access to the home ASAP. I live there, etc., etc. The opposing counsel, my wife's attorney, they ignore everything about that and go in on the attack based on everything that she's told him, that I'm an abusive man and she's afraid of me, I intimidated her, and more importantly, she needs temporary spousal support. So this is where the plot really thickens. She claims that she needs $6,000 per month in temporary spousal support, and she needs all household expenses taken care of. So the judge, without even hearing from me on how ridiculous this is, says, okay, I've heard enough. I'll fax in my decision by the end of the day. And I'll continue this story in the next video.